Hey everybody, welcome back to another fun and exciting geometry class. Today we are going to talk about measuring angles. Now, maybe you think, well, that's easy. I just put a protractor up there and no problem. I'll just measure the angle and we'll just move on. Well, that worked in baby math and that worked in middle school. But that's not going to work in geometry, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes the angles that we're measuring are more, we need them to be more exact, more precise than what a protractor will allow us to measure. Think about this. Just like in between a number, the number 0 and 1, there's lots of fractions in there. You know, 1/2, 1/4, 3/4. There's lots of fractions in between 0 and 1. The same thing is true between 0 degrees and 1 degree. There are lots of little tiny variations in that degree, in that angle. So what we're going to do today is we are going to figure out how to measure an angle when it's very, very precise. Now, we're not going to get into actually getting the device and getting a special protractor that we can measure these things with. But what we are going to do is we're going to talk about how we would do it or how it is done. And then we're going to talk about the math behind it. So most everybody knows about degrees, okay? And so we have degrees. But that is just one part of how to measure an angle. There is also something called minutes and seconds. Now, degrees, they're like, let's say 45 degrees, okay? But maybe it's 45 degrees and a little bit. And the way that we would do that is we would use minutes and seconds. Well, minutes and seconds are well, let me kind of let me go back just a little bit and let me tell you where this comes from. Um, the idea of degrees comes from, and why are there 360 degrees in a circle? Well, the idea comes from the sun and the earth traveling around the sun. And obviously it takes 365 days or 365 and a quarter basically days for the earth to revolve around the sun. That's a 365-degree circle that it makes around the sun. Now, technically, it's not. It's a little bit of an elliptical pattern, but we're not going to be technical. Back in when this was basically discovered or developed, they didn't have even telescopes, or they didn't know any of that. They didn't have computers to measure and different things like that. So they used 360 to make it just a little bit easier than 365. Okay, and so they used 360, and that's where the degrees came from. One day is 1 degree. And like I said, now it's technically 365, but they made it easier by doing 360. So if you can think of that, 1 degree is 1 day. And so as we move around the sun after 360 days, 365, we come back to where we started from. Well, that's the same thing with the circle. As we come back, or as we start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way around, and we come back to 360, we're back to where we started from. So in this case, what happens when we need to get a little bit more? And so think about it, if degrees is days, okay, then the minutes and seconds should kind of make some sense too, okay? And so there's no hours, but use your imagination there just a little bit. The degrees are days, and then we have minutes and seconds. Okay, this is the other way that we're going to a little bit more accurately tell um, how many degrees or what the variation of the angle is. Now, here's the interesting thing about minutes. Just like minutes in an hour, we are going to use 60. Okay, and just like seconds in a minute, we are also going to use 60 here. We're going to use the idea of times 60. Now, we'll wait on the seconds. The minutes is fairly easy. Let's say that we have 10 minutes. 45 degrees and 10 minutes. We write the minutes with, let me make sure that I'm telling you this right. We write the minutes, yes, with one little tilde, one little apostrophe, okay? And that would mean 10 minutes. Now, if we're going to figure out the decimal number of this or the fractional number of this, we would put that over 60. And then you could reduce it to 1 over 6. And then we could take our calculator and we could do 1 over 6. And that actually comes out to a repeating decimal. But if we do 1 over 6, we do, whoops, sorry. 1 divided by 6 equals 0.166666 repeating, okay? And so then we're going to have, that's going to be the decimal, 1.1667. We'll round it off, okay? And so, in other words, this angle would be 45.1667 degrees. 45 point. So an angle that is 45 degrees and 10 minutes. Once you do the math on this, divide it by 60, you would come out with 0.1667 would be the decimal of the minutes. Now, how do we do seconds? I said it's of 60, and it is, but it's 60 parts of a minute, which are 60 parts of a degree. So really you had to do 60 times 60 here, okay? And so, whoops, I put my calculator away. So if we do 60 times 60, you come out with 3,000, hold on, 60 times 60. I don't want to say something wrong and then you all laugh at me because I'm the math teacher, but I do know the answer. 3,600. Now, when we take that 3,600, it's our new fraction. So this is our 3,600. And what that is 60 parts of a minute, which is 60 parts of a degree. So 60 times 60 gives us our 3,600. So now what we would do is if we have minutes with our thing, is we would take this. Let me erase this and let's go back to this. And we've already done this one. So I'm going to leave that there because we do need that because we already did the minutes. And then let's say that the seconds are 800 seconds. And we put 2 of the quotation mark things there, right there. All right. And so now what we would do with the seconds is we would put 800 over 3,600. You can cancel those out and you put 8 over 36. So we can go ahead and divide that out. And we're going to get 0.222222222. Now, 0.222, and then we'll just leave it like that because we're rounding off. Now, what I want you to see now is what we have to do is, again, this is the whole number right here. 45 degrees, 10 minutes, and 800 seconds. Now what we have to do is we have to combine these because we had minutes and seconds. And in math, whenever you have the word and, you're always adding. So we're going to add our minutes and seconds together. And so we're going to end up with 45 point, and we're going to add the 222 and the 1.67. Okay, so if we take our calculator, we're going to put in our 0.222 plus our 0.167. And that's going to equal 3.89, and that's going to be our decimal, 3.89. 3.89. And so our degree in minutes and seconds would be 45 degrees, 10 minutes, and 800 seconds. Let me put a degree. In decimal form, it would be 45.389 degrees. And that's the way that you do degrees in minutes and seconds. And again, that's a very, very accurate number. Now, most of the time, we're not going to use numbers that accurate because we only have a protractor and we can't get that accurate with it. But there are things, computers and different types of precision protractors that can measure angles that precise. Well, we need to know how to handle them, and that is the way that you handle those. Um, Yeah, I mean, that's all I have for you. And then the rest of it is just all the math work that goes along with that. But that is the process of doing minutes and seconds with degrees. Okay? All right, we'll see you later. Have a good rest of your day.